New York at 7:58 a.m. Smells like coffee and hurry. I stand in the foyer of a private academy that shines with polished wood and polished ambition. Proctors glide like quiet police. Parents hover as if the air itself might grade their children. I am not a parent. I am a volunteer with a backpack, 3 pencils, and a habit of noticing what other people miss. A flyer at the shelter said the Vail Foundation needed extra hands to pass out calculators for its scholarship exam. Lately I have been extra hands. Hands that hold. Hands that return. Hands that help. The exam hall looks like a small lake made of desks. Rows. Name cards. Tight shoulders. At the far end a boy sits alone, hoodie up, eyes down. His tent card reads Noah Vail. I know the last name the way anyone in this city knows it. Elon Vail. Billionaire. Builder. A calm storm in a suit. Noah is under his care. A proctor clears her throat and recites the rules. Phones off. Eyes down. Your future begins when I say begin. My job is simple. Deliver a spare calculator to row G, seat 12. Row G is where the anxiety lives. I walk softly and set a calculator on a desk that trembles. Noah's fingers hover over the buttons like birds that cannot find a branch. His breath has lost its metronome. I have seen panic fold smarter people than me into paper. He presses on. The display blinks error. He presses again. Error. He glances at the clock, then at the ceiling like maybe the numbers live up there and will come down if he asks nicely. I flip the device, check the switch on the back, and see the tiny betrayal. Radians instead of degrees. A small thing that can break a morning. I tilt the calculator so the light catches and whisper, "Better." He nods. Not grateful. Just less alone. Time begins. The room bends over paper like a forest in wind. 10 minutes later the lights hiccup. Screens reboot. A printer in the corner spits a page of hieroglyphics, then seems to think about its life choices. Noah freezes. He taps the calculator again. Error. The proctor strides toward him. He flinches. I am not supposed to move. I move anyway. "Ma'am," I say, keeping my voice small enough to fit between 2 heartbeats. The power blip reset his mode. He needs degrees, not radians. She lifts the device and presses a few random keys. Eyes on Noah as if he has committed a social crime, then puts it down unchanged. His hands curl. He is not crying. He is drowning. I step closer. Second function. Top left. Mode. I press once. I press again. The display shifts. Deg. The difference between possible and impossible. "Who are you?" the proctor asks, her mouth aline. "A volunteer," I answer. And a human being standing between him and a mistake he doesn't need to make. Noah lowers his head and writes. The river moves again. At noon a black car slides to the curb as if it belongs to the pavement. Doors open like quiet secrets. A man steps out. Lean fit. Angular. Dark hair and a neat side part. Steel gray eyes that measure rooms without raising their voice. Charcoal suit, crisp shirt, a steel watch that keeps better time than most people. Elon Vail. He speaks to the head of school. Then to the proctor. Then his gaze finds me as if my name were already on his schedule. "Are you Lena Harper?" he asks. I nod. "Walk with me," he says, and I do because some doors open quietly and on purpose. We stop in a corridor that smells like lemon and authority. Sunlight cuts the floor into tidy rectangles. He studies me. Not aggressive, precise, a microscope looking for meaning. "You saw my nephew," he says. "I saw a human having a moment," I answer. Humans do that. One corner of his mouth acknowledges the sentence. "Noah is smart in ways standardized tests don't pay for," he says. "He is easily overwhelmed." I say, "Overwhelm is a system, not a flaw," before I can think better of it. He almost smiles again, then makes the ask that is simple and enormous. Help him. Not only to pass this exam. Help him learn how to learn when the room is loud. I swallow 1,000 reasons to say no and choose the one reason to say yes. A door is open. I can try, I say. I will pay you, he says. I know, I answer. But that cannot be the reason this works. He nods once. Agreement is a crisp sound in his world. We choose the roof for our first session because Noah hates rooms that close in. The head of school worries about liability until Elon signs a form that calms paperwork. The roof is flat, fenced, and honest about its view. The city spreads out like a living map. Noah waits with headphones half off, as if he wants to hear two worlds at once. He holds a pencil like it owes him an apology. I drop my backpack and sit cross-legged on a borrowed yoga mat. 5 minutes on, 2 minutes off, I tell him. Not for speed. For rhythm. Brains are muscles that love intervals. I hand him a timer, a white card to cover everything except the line his eyes are dating, and 2 highlighters. One for I know this. One for I will know this in 5 minutes if the world leaves me alone. He asks if it is like circuits. I tell him exactly. Every problem is a story. Every story has a trick. Find the trick and make it confess. He laughs once. Sounds like breaking ice. Then like water. In 3 short sessions, the roof becomes a classroom with rules we invented. He brings a notebook filled with diagrams and a poem about gravity that rhymes with nothing and still lands. Elon texts me one evening. How is he? I answer with 2 words. Breathing. Learning. He replies with a tiny metronome which should feel silly and somehow doesn't. The symbol fits the work. That night I ride the bus back to the shelter with the city pinned outside my window. I open my battered laptop and read about the Veil Foundation, the exam, the process that advertises fairness like a halo. I study the rules until the page blurs. The word algorithm appears so often it starts to sound like a prayer. I know better. Algorithm is not a promise. It is an instrument. In the wrong hands, it is a blade. I close the lid and press my palms on the warm plastic as if heat could anchor a thought. Across town, I picture Elon Vale in an office of cool light and architectural lines. He would align a pen with the table edge, check his watch, and stare at a skyline he is teaching to behave. I imagine my name on a visitor log. He did not expect to remember. I do not know what he is thinking, but I know what I am thinking. The morning felt small if you measure it in volts. Felt enormous if you measure it in direction. A calculator. A switch. A breath that learned how to stay. That is how it begins for me. Not with a rescue. With a setting on a device no one else bothered to set. With a boy who needed one person to stand between him and a mistake. With a man whose world runs on precision noticing a volunteer who still believes in human hands. The city keeps moving. The roof waits. The metronome keeps time. And somewhere between degrees and radians, something in my life clicks into place. I will tell you who I am the way the city taught me to tell the truth. In pieces that fit if you sit still long enough. I was a student who could read a campus map like a love letter. I took literature because stories keep people breathing, and statistics because numbers keep them honest. My mother cleaned offices at night and learned which lights flicker when no one is watching. My father left early and taught me by accident that absence has weight. Our apartment remembered winter too long. The windows shook when the train passed, as if the building had its own small fears. Then a job disappeared. Then a bill grew teeth. Then our landlord fell in love with the word renovation and said it like a magic trick that turned our home into someone else's mood board. We moved in with my aunt who had more patience than space. I took 1 shift, then 2, then 3. My grades bent like wet cardboard. The bursar sent emails that sounded like fire alarms I could not find the button for. I told my advisor, 1 semester off. Just to breathe. Pauses are tricky things. Mine learned to be a season. When the couch rotation ran out, I learned the choreography of lines. Shelter lines. Clinic lines. Lines for forms that ask for a middle name as if that could save you. I learned where the city keeps its quiet corners. I learned that hunger speaks 1 sentence over and over. Keep going. I kept going with a backpack under my arm like a child holds a stuffed animal. Inside the backpack. A toothbrush, a wallet with a bus pass that believed in second chances. A copy of Their Eyes Were Watching God with soft pages, and a spiral notebook labeled Maybe. I could carry my life and still have a hand free to hold someone else's day together. That is how I became extra hands. Hands that hold. Hands that return. Hands that help. Sometimes for pay. Often for coffee. Always for the small ceremony of making chaos behave. I tutored in places that smell like effort. Library tables. Church basements. The back booth at a diner where the manager knows the cost of kindness and pays it anyway. I discovered that a whiteboard rescued from a closing school can be a raft. Kids with tired eyes would sit, and I would tell them that a paragraph is not a wall. It is a bridge. We would walk across one sentence at a time, not looking down. So when the flyer at the shelter asked for extra hands to pass out calculators at the Vail Foundation scholarship exam, I went. I did not go to save anyone. I went because this is who I am now. A person the city calls when a morning needs to work. Noah happened. The mode switch happened. The way panic can be undone with 2 quiet clicks happened. And Elon Vail found me in a lemon-scented hallway and asked me to walk with him. If you have never stood next to a person who organizes his air before he speaks, it feels like stepping beside a metronome. His calm makes other people rearrange themselves. Mine tries to make room. He asked me to help Noah learn how to learn when the room is loud. I said yes with my mouth and later with my time. There is a difference. Words are cheap in cities like ours. Minutes are not. The roof became our classroom because the sky does not close in. Noah brought his hoodie and a stutter in his breath that did not belong to his lungs. I brought a timer. 5 on. 2 off. Not for speed. For rhythm. I brought a white card to hide the future of a page and 2 highlighters. One for I know this, one for I will know this in 5 minutes if the world leaves me alone. We practiced breathing like it was a lever. We talked about math as a language some people pretend is colder than it is. We named the trick in word problems the way divers name currents. I watched him surface again and again. Each time quicker. Each time with less fear in his eyes. Between sessions I ran errands for my own life. I stood in a pharmacy aisle and did the math of soap versus soup. I sat at the shelter computer and watched job applications time out because the page did not believe in slow connections. I returned a call from my mother that began with a sigh and ended with a laugh, because she knows how not to break me. I checked the academy schedule and confirmed the next exam date. I checked my bus routes and learned the friendly drivers by face, not by name because names make leaving harder. At night I researched the Vail Foundation. It is famous for generosity. The website shines. The language is careful. There is a sentence that says an algorithm ensures fairness. I stared at that word. Algorithm. It wears a halo when people are tired. It wears a blade when money is in the room. I told myself to sleep. The thought did not sleep with me. Elon texted updates in polite bursts. How is he? I answered like a metronome. Breathing. Learning. He sent back the tiny icon of a metronome and somehow it made sense. I learned his style fast. Precision as comfort. Silence as respect. He pays attention with edges. I pay attention with warmth. It is possible both are forms of care. There were days the city tested my balance. A manager cut my shift because a conference wanted the good tables. A roommate at the shelter whispered my name wrong and meant it. A bus did not arrive, then arrived twice, then charged me both times. I kept receipts. I kept going. I kept Noah's timer in my bag like a small promise to the part of me that still believes structure can be a kindness. One afternoon after a rooftop session that felt like music, I sat with my old laptop warming my knees and opened the scholarship portal to read the rules. I opened the FAQ. I opened what was behind the FAQ. The document said the system was neutral. The system used risk flags to protect the process from fraud. It sounded reasonable. Reasonable is a word that sometimes means someone has already chosen who matters and is now tidying up. I did not accuse the page of anything. I am not a warrior by nature. I am a teacher who likes her evidence and drinks her coffee black because sugar gets in the way of the wrong kinds of truth. I took notes. I wrote down error codes and the list of accepted file types because sometimes the battle is not epic. It is a file size. I told myself I was doing this for my students at the community center who would be filling the same forms at midnight when the internet runs like tired feet. I told myself I was doing it so Noah would not confuse a bad portal with a bad mind. A night bus hummed me past the glass building where Elon works. I could see a slice of his floor. Cool light. Architectural lines. A shadow moving like a person who plans for a living. I wondered if he ever imagines the city from the ground, where the wind smells like pretzels and rain and rubber soles that have learned to say yes. I wondered if he remembers he grew up in a rent-stressed town and watched a duplex condemned for structural risk. He would. People like him build from wounds. People like me survive with them. The next morning brought a different kind of ache. My aunt called. Her landlord is raising the rent again. She can keep my box of winter clothes but not me. I thanked her for the months she made room where there was none and promised I would be fine. I hung up and sat with my backpack pressed against my chest like a shield. The price of my pause was not only lost credits or lost time. It was the way stability forgets your name if you do not visit often. I walked to the community center and tutored a girl who writes like thunder, but thinks commas are judgmental. We made peace between them. I told her a sentence can hold its breath, then exhale. She exhaled. We both did. Afterward I checked the scholarship portal for her, and for 2 boys who punch in at the deli before school. The server coughed once and then behaved. I wanted to believe in that small mercy so much that my shoulders dropped a full inch. On the roof that week, Noah solved a problem and then caught himself smiling, which embarrassed him. He asked why I was helping him. I said because someone helped me and because he asked without asking. He nodded, which in teenage means the idea landed without breaking anything. Later that day, the head of school sent a crisp email reminding volunteers not to interfere during exams. The word lodged under my skin. Interfere. I am not a machine that malfunctions when a person is drowning. I wrote back, thank you for the guidance. I will continue to keep students safe. I did not hit send. I am learning to choose my battles like rent money. This is the price of pause. You hold the city up and it does not always notice. You keep receipts for your kindness and there is no cashier. You measure your life in bus transfers and good pens and the difference between degrees and radians. You sleep in borrowed places and wake to borrowed problems and still make new room for other people's fear. And yet, when I lock the shelter locker and step into the morning, my feet remember how to hope. When the timer beeps on the roof, Noah remembers how to breathe. When Elon's text arrives, brief and careful, I remember that precision can be another name for respect. I am not fixed. I am not rescued. I am paused and moving at the same time, like a city at a red light listening for the crosswalk signal. Somewhere inside the Veil Foundation's clean pages a sentence I do not trust is quietly waiting. Somewhere inside me a question refuses to sit still. I carry both to the next day, to the next roof, to the next door that will open or not. Tomorrow I will set the timer again. 5 on. 2 off. We will learn the beat. We will pay the price and then ask why the counter is so high. If the answer is a machine, I will look for the hands behind it. If the answer is a person, I will ask them to stand in the light and speak slowly. Pain is a teacher too. It charges more than it should. It leaves you with a skill set you did not order. I take attendance. I count what it gave me. I lace my shoes. I go to work. The roof becomes a habit. We climb the last flight of stairs and the city opens like a book. The fence hums in the wind. HVAC units breathe like giant animals that forgot to be scary. Noah sits cross-legged on a yoga mat someone abandoned. I set the timer between us. 5 minutes on. 2 minutes off. Not for speed. For rhythm. He nods. He is learning that rhythm is kinder than talent. We build a small toolbox that fits in his backpack. Noise-canceling headphones for the chorus he cannot quiet. A white card to cover the future of a page so his eyes do not sprint ahead. 2 highlighters that never fight. 1 for I know this. 1 for I will know this in 5 minutes if the world leaves me alone. We practice breathing on purpose. In for 4. Hold for 4. Out for 6. He thinks it is silly. Then he tries it on a hard proof and watches his hand stop shaking. He looks at me like I smuggled magic into a public school. Progress is not fireworks. Progress is a pencil that does not snap. It is a page that stays flat in the wind because someone is holding the corner for you. It is Noah whispering, I can do this, without asking the air for permission. On day 3 he brings a notebook he has not shown anyone. The cover says circuits and other poems. The grammar is reckless and honest. A drawing of a bridge sits next to a line about gravity that refuses to rhyme. He hands me the pages and pretends to check the sky for rain. I read and hand them back with my whole face saying keep going. Sometimes hope is the space you leave around another person's voice. Elon visits once. He does not intrude. He stands at the far edge of the roof where the lines of the city make sense. Charcoal suit, gray merino under the jacket, the steel watch that ticks like a metronome with perfect manners. He watches Noah finish a set and start the timer for breath. He watches me do nothing dramatic. After, he thanks me in a way that is precise and not performative. He hands Noah a pair of headphones still in the box. He hands me a thermos because the wind is colder up here than downtown Money remembers. He says, tell me what else you need. I say, fewer interruptions and a desk that does not wobble. He says, done. He does not ask for a photo. He does not post a quote. I file that under reasons to keep trying. Between sessions I tutor at the community center where the internet is just strong enough to hope. We set up a line of donated laptops on a folding table with a sign that says scholarship help in marker that smudges. Teenagers arrive with essays on their phones and passwords written on their hands. I help them turn paragraphs into bridges. I help them find the submit button without getting lost in forms that ask for 6 kinds of proof a child should not have to carry. The portal opens at midnight. We cheer at green check marks. We groan at error codes. I4 keeps showing up like a bad joke. It happens to 2 kids from the same address. Then 3 more from a block away. An online forum says E48 means file too large. It does not. We compress. We submit again. 48 still bites. I begin a small spreadsheet because this is how my brain keeps from shouting. Zip codes in one column. Error codes in another. Timestamps in a third. I do not know what I am looking for yet. I know what patterns feel like when they are pretending to be accidents. In the morning Elon texts, how is he? I answer breathing. Learning the beat. He sends the metronome again. I send a photo of the timer with a coffee cup ring near the 5. He replies with a period. It is his version of a smile. That afternoon I sit on a bus with my backpack warming my lap and read the Veil Foundation site again. The page is bright and proud. The language is careful. There is a line I did not see before because hope can be loud. Powered by ScholarSort API in partnership with Northbridge. The name lands with a small thud. I click the press release. I read about optimization and compliance and advanced risk detection. The words are polished. The incentive is not. I write the name in my notebook. I underline it twice. I still tell myself this is none of my business. Then I picture Noah's hands and the girl who writes like thunder and the boys who punch in at the deli before first period. My business expands. Hope is stubborn. It wants to be useful. I email the foundation help desk with a list of the error codes and the zip codes that keep getting slapped. I am very polite. I attach screenshots. I ask for a human. The reply arrives with no fingerprints. Thank you for your feedback. Try again later. I am tired of later. I am not done. On the roof, I turn the error into a lesson. We talk about systems. We talk about how a test is not only the paper in front of you. It is the room, the rules, the portal, the timing, the person who raised their voice at the wrong second. We name the things we can control. We plan for the things we cannot. Noah learns to pause on purpose when the lights flicker in his head. He learns that 5 counts can be a bridge from panic to clarity. His eyes stop asking the ceiling for mercy. They ask the problem for structure. At the end of a session, Elon lingers. The city reflects off the glass behind him in cool squares. He asks what I am noticing. I tell him about E48. I tell him about the cluster on my spreadsheet. I tell him I am not sure yet and I could be wrong. He listens like I am not wasting his time. He does not defend the foundation. He does not defend the machine. He says, "Show me." 2 words that move entire floors faster than elevators can. He introduces me to Dana Powell, a woman whose job is to prevent small fires from becoming skyline events. We meet in a conference room that smells like new paper and late coffee. She reads my spreadsheet like a map and circles dead ends with a neat pen. She asks if I am willing to keep logging. She asks if I want an NDA. I say if I sign anything, I want a clause that says I can still help kids at midnight when the internet is tired. Elon says agreed. I learned that power can say yes without needing to own you. I tuck that lesson into my pocket with the bus pass. For a week the work is simple and holy. I teach. I log. I sleep with my backpack under my arm. Noah's intervals stretch from 5 minutes to 8. He learns to set his own timer, which is the hope I had from the first day. He begins to catch himself when his mind sprints ahead of the problem. He brings me a drawing of a circuit that looks like a city block. He says, "This is how I see the page now." I say, "Keep that map. It will not fail you." Elon surprises me by asking for stories, not numbers. Whose application stalled? Who almost gave up? What did the room feel like at 12:03 a.m. when E48 showed up again? I tell him about a girl who called her grandmother to read her first paragraph out loud because she needed a witness. I tell him about a boy who wrote his essay in the Notes app because he had no computer and no pride left to borrow one. Elon's face does not melt. It changes temperature by 1 degree. I can see it because I am standing close enough now to know his edges. The head of school tries to pause my volunteer badge over a rumor that I interfere. Elon does not send a thunderbolt. He sends a sentence. Lena is essential to Noah's accommodations. Please ensure access. The badge scans green the next morning. I am learning a new grammar. How to let someone use their weight without handing them the rest of me. Hope is also paperwork done right. Dana tweaks a small reporting script on the foundation side with permission from a tired contractor who is more human than policy. The script does not fix anything. It only records better. We do not announce it. We are not staging a coup. We are building a camera. Noah's second practice exam arrives. He starts strong, wobbles at question 12, stares at the skyline as if it can breathe for him, then remembers his own ribs. In. Hold. Out. He resets. He finishes with 7 minutes to spare and uses 3 of them to laugh at himself. I do not cheer. I say, "That's the beat. Keep it." Elon texts after sunset. "Thank you." 2 words that land like a jacket over a cold chair. I tell him I want one more thing before the real exam. A place where kids who hate classrooms can take a breath before they walk in. A bench, a plant, silence enforced by policy, not by luck. He says, "I can move walls." I say, "Move one. Make it kinder." The next morning a small waiting room appears outside the exam hall. A sign reads "Quiet Zone." Even the proctors obey it. I take a photo and send it to my mother. She calls and cries in the way that lets both of us keep our pride. On the night before the second exam, I sit at the community center with the spreadsheet open and the room empty. The air smells like dry erase markers and popcorn. The portal is quiet and the city is not. I am tired in the good way. I am also sharp with a thought that will not sit still. What if this is bigger than a glitch? What if fairness is doing exactly what it was paid to do? The idea does not crush my hope. Clarifies it. If the system is dirty, we can clean it. If the door is stuck, we can name who nailed it shut. I plug in the last row of data and close the laptop. The timer on my phone buzzes for no reason. 5 on. 2 off. It feels like a small prayer, the secular kind the city permits. Tomorrow Noah will sit down, and I will stand behind a line that says "Do not interfere," and I will still interfere with my presence, with my quiet, with the way breathing turns into courage when someone you trust is near. Hope is not a miracle. It is a method. It is a roof that becomes a classroom. It is a billionaire who learns to ask for stories. It is a spreadsheet that refuses to believe in coincidence. It is a boy who uses the last 3 minutes not to panic but to breathe. I go to sleep with my backpack under my arm and my shoes by the door. The city is a metronome outside the window. Somewhere, a room full of polished wood waits for morning. Somewhere, a portal waits to decide who matters. I am ready to watch it. I am ready to help the ones who fall through the polite holes. I am ready to ask the next question out loud. Tomorrow will test all of us. Tonight I let the timer keep time. 5 on. 2 off. Again. The smear arrives the way storms do in this city. Fast. Loud. Pretending it was always here. A blog calls me a homeless tutor who leaked questions from the Veil exam. A screenshot circulates with a math item written in a font that wants to be my handwriting. It is not. A cheap forgery can be expensive if you do not breathe. The head of school emails me with too many commas and the word pause. My badge is frozen until they clarify. I am tired of pauses that last longer than truth. I take the long way to anger. I walk through evidence first. I open my spreadsheet. Zip codes. Error codes. Timestamps. I add a column for the smear because lies also leave data behind. My hand stops shaking when I have cells to fill. I message Elon because I am done pretending this is a private problem. He replies in 1 minute. Come up. Bring everything. His office is a room made of glass and restraint. Cool light. Hard edges. Architectural lines. He looks like he was sketched with a ruler. He thanks me for coming in a tone that is soft and precise. Dana Powell is already there. She is the kind of calm that knows where the fire exits are. I slide the spreadsheet to her. She reads like a surgeon. She sees what I see. E48 blooms in clusters over the same blocks at the same minutes. Scholar sort is not random. The portal is not fair. The system is tagging addresses and calling it fraud prevention. The word neutral is doing unethical gymnastics. There is also money in the air. Dana shows me a small quiet chart. Trading volume around the blips. Short positions picking up right when error codes spike. The partner's name is on the release. Northbridge. Their logo is a sincere bridge that goes nowhere. Elon stands very still. Stillness is how he holds anger. He does not defend the foundation. He does not defend himself. He says 2 words I am beginning to trust. Prove it. I am not an engineer. I am a teacher with good notes and a stubborn streak. But I know how to set a stage. Dana knows how to wire it. We design a controlled day. Students from zip codes the system calls risky will submit in a tight window. We will record everything. Nothing illegal. Nothing sneaky. Just light and logs. A sympathetic contractor adds a line of code that writes the portal's choices to a place the excuses cannot reach. If the API is tagging by address and hiding behind the word compliance, it will show itself when the heat is on. The night before the sting, an account with no face tells me to back off. Says they know where I sleep. They do not. I move shelters anyway. I change my route. I tell 2 friends the map of my day. Fear is not a plan, but it can wake you up in time to make one. Morning. I ride the bus with my backpack under my arm and sit in a room near Elon's office where the air smells like new wires. Screens wait like polite animals. Dana sets the clocks. I text the community center and 3 partner schools. Ready. They reply with a thumbs up that feels like a blessing. At 10 o'clock the submissions begin. Green checkmarks march across the screen. For one breath the world is reasonable. Then red. E48 blooms like a bruise right where I drew it last week. The map lights with zip codes the portal does not like. On another monitor a trading bot chirps. Northbridge is moving money like it already knows the headline. My stomach turns the way it does on the first drop of a roller coaster. I write the time down because that is who I am now. At 10:11 a maintenance message covers the portal. We are sorry for the inconvenience. The words mean nothing and everything. Dana's log keeps writing. The truth is still happening under the apology. 11 minutes later Agent Kamala Ortiz calls. Elon put us together 2 days ago when the pattern looked like a crime and not a glitch. She works for people who knock on doors with legal weight. She asks if we have it. We do. She files papers that have the word subpoena in them. A word I never expected to feel like oxygen. Noah takes his exam at noon. I am not allowed inside the room. I wait on a bench in the quiet zone Elon made appear because I asked him to move one wall. The sign on the door is plain. Silence. Students only. It looks like nothing. It is kindness enforced by policy, not luck. When the clock hits the first 10 minutes, I feel a familiar panic that is not mine. I count my breath anyway. 5 in. Hold. 6 out. I count for him because he has learned to count for himself. He walks out with 10 minutes to spare and sits for 3 before he remembers his legs. He nods at me once. I nod back the way you do when Victory is shy and needs an escort. By mid-afternoon, the smear tries to howl again. A second blog repeats the lie with fresh confidence. I almost answer. Elon texts me a period. It is a reminder. Let the evidence finish the sentence. At 3:30, Agent Ortiz walks into a conference room with a folder that could bend a table. She is not showy. She is practiced. She reads back what we saw. Portal behavior tied to address flags. Error codes timed with trading moves. Internal emails with tidy bullet points about costs per acceptance reduction. No one says the word discrimination out loud yet. It is already in the room. Julia from the foundation calls me. She says they will investigate. She says they value access. She says this is not the time to be public. I say the time is now. She sighs the sigh of people who translate power for a living. We agree on nothing except that the day is not done. At 5 o'clock the first leak lands where the whole city can see it. An email chain between a partner executive and a compliance officer uses the phrase high-risk zones like a label on a box. They call the last quarter's numbers a win. They say the quiet part to each other like it is still safe. It is not. A reporter calls my donated phone. I let it ring. I turn to Elon and test a fear out loud. Does justice eat its own allies? He says not if we feed it facts. Evening. The press conference is set in a municipal room where the paint is tired and the truth has good posture. Agent Ortiz goes first. She speaks without poetry. She uses verbs that land. We observed. We subpoenaed. We found. The case is not over, but the story is not theirs anymore. Elon steps up. He does not perform outrage. He performs responsibility. He says the foundation failed at the one thing it exists to do. Trust was outsourced to a partner whose incentives did not match the mission. The API is suspended. The partnership is ended. Every application flagged by any machine will get a human review with a presumption of inclusion. A public dashboard will show acceptance by zip code and school in real time. No spin. He does not say the word optics. He says the word repair. It sounds heavier and better. Someone asks about me. Am I the tutor who leaked? I say no into a microphone that tastes like dust. I say a child's life was labeled a file size error and I did not accept that. Another voice asks if I am close to Elon. I say we are allies in the project of not wasting the next generation's time. I do not look at him because I do not need to. The room hears the sentence and moves on. That night the badge on my volunteer account unfreezes. The head of school sends a short note without commas. Thank you. We were wrong. I breathe the way I teach Noah to breathe. It feels like a door opening inside my ribs. At the community center kids refresh the portal and watch green arrive without lying. A girl calls her grandmother and reads the first line of her essay while sobbing and laughing at once. My spreadsheet sits open on a folding table. It looks ordinary. It is not. Justice is not fireworks for me. It is paperwork that can be audited. It is a room where a billionaire says the failure is ours and the fix is ours. It is an agent who tells me to keep receipts and means the ones that matter. It is a contractor who sleeps better because the code now writes the truth wherever it can. It is Noah walking past a proctor with his head up and no one flinching. I go home, by which I mean a bed behind a door that is not mine and still safe enough for a night. I place my backpack by my knees. I put the timer on the floor like a small altar to method. 5 on, 2 off. We kept the beat under pressure. We made the system say what it was doing. We made it stop. Tomorrow there will be meetings and audits and people who want credit and people who want distance. That is fine. I have a class on the roof. I have a boy who now trusts his breath. I have a city that, for one day, remembered the right setting. Justice is not the end. It is a hinge. I close my eyes and feel the door swing toward something I can live with. I am tired. I am also ready. The metronome on my phone ticks once. Sleep. Then the next beat. The morning after the press conference feels like a city after rain. Not perfect. Clean enough to keep going. I wake with my backpack under my arm and a timer on the floor. And for the first time in a long while I do not rehearse my defense before I put on my shoes. The badge scan at the academy door glows green. No one looks at me like a rumor. That is a luxury I can taste. The foundation moves fast because sunlight is a clock. The API is gone. A human review lane opens and stays open. The public dashboard goes live with numbers that can be checked by anyone with a browser and 10 seconds of curiosity. Zip codes, schools, acceptance rates. No spin. The first week the chart looks uneven, then steadies as the backlog clears. Fairness is not a feeling. It is a series you can graph. Elon asks me to meet where the air feels honest, the roof. He stands by the fence in a gray sweater, the watch he never forgets, the posture of a man who learned control the way other people learn lullabies. He thanks me with 2 words and no ceremony. Then he asks for design, not praise. How do we make this boring, he says. How do we make kindness automatic? I smile because that is a question I know how to love. We start a list. Quiet zones at every test site. A real person on a real line when a form stalls. A rule that says pauses have time limits and names attached. A habit of showing the math behind mercy. Noah passes the exam. He does not ace it. He passes it like a person who learned to breathe on purpose. He walks out with ink on his fingers and relief in his shoulders. He tells me he used the last 3 minutes to sit still and listen to his ribs. He says thank you as if it is a fact, not a bow. That is my favorite kind of gratitude. The rooftop classroom stops being a secret. It becomes a program with a name that makes me laugh the first time I see it printed. Access Labs. Sounds bigger than us and exactly right. The Vail Foundation funds it and then does something rarer than money. Leaves it alone. We sign a memorandum that keeps governance clean. I am paid like a professional, not a charity case. We recruit tutors who know that brilliance sometimes arrives in a hoodie and a silence. We bring folding chairs, clipboards, snacks that do not rustle. We put names on our loaner laptops because asset tags feel like prison numbers. We hang a sign near the door that says breathe first in letters someone's cousin painted by hand. Dana visits with a grin she tries to hide. She walks our little floor plan with the care of a person who has carried too many crisis binders. She shows me the log that now keeps logging even when no one is watching. I thank her with coffee and later with sleep. Sleep feels earned in a way I did not know could be true. Agent Ortiz stands in the back of our first workshop and does not pretend to be anything but law. She does not take the mic. She takes notes. As she leaves she says, keep receipts. I tell her we keep everything. Minutes, mistakes, the way a kid's voice changes when a page becomes a path. She nods the nod of someone who will be there if the ground shakes again. Julia from the foundation asks to meet. She looks like someone who has been translating hard days into soft statements too long. She apologizes without decoration. She tells me the board has new bones. Educators. Families. People who read applications with ears, not just eyes. I accept the apology because it is paired with receipts. She asks if I will speak to staff about how to listen when a volunteer says the quiet thing out loud. I say yes. Not because I like microphones. Because culture is a room you build one sentence at a time. Elon keeps showing up without being in the way. He stands at the edge of rooms and asks the kind of questions that make people finish their own thinking. He learns to bring stories to meetings, not just slides. He tells me once at dusk, that he draws cities when he cannot sleep. He pulls a small sketchbook from his pocket, pencil lines clean and tender. He says he is learning to leave blank space on purpose. I tell him blank space is where breath lives. We do not call it intimacy. We do not need words every time we recognize the same seam in the world. I find an apartment. Not because Elon buys me one. Because my job pays rent that does not laugh at me. It is a studio with a window that has opinions about noon. I sign my name and feel something in my spine unclench. The landlord says welcome in a voice that suggests he means it. I take 2 buses home the first week just because I can. I buy a plant and name it Interval. The leaves do not care. I care enough for both of us. Noah starts an internship in a lab that mixes circuits with poetry, because someone finally bothered to see the shape of his brain. He texts me pictures of a timer and a soldering iron. He captions them 5 on 2 off and I send back the metronome. It is our language now. We do not need more. Our rooftop grows. Not taller. Wider. A girl with storm eyes reads her essay into the wind and does not apologize for her commas. A boy who wrote in the Notes app now edits on a laptop with a sticker that says maybe and then someone adds a second sticker that says now. I watch them and think about the timeline of my own breath. How long it took to not walk into rooms like a roomer. I am not shy about my past when a kid asks. I tell them pauses can be seasons. I tell them seasons change. One afternoon Elon asks me to see a building on the edge of a neighborhood that developers like to mention in the future tense. It used to be a storage facility. It is now a school disguised as a playground. There is a room near the roof with long tables and windows that believe in light. A small plaque by the door reads the Harper Room. I pretend to be cool, fail, and laugh at myself before the tears can decide for me. He says the room is not a gift. It is a receipt. The city owes me exactly this much and probably more. I do not argue. I run my hand along the wood and say out loud what I want to teach here. How to set a timer. How to set a boundary. How to set a system on the right setting. We launch a hotline for essays on Sundays because stress does not respect business hours. We design an escalation rule. If a student sees an error code twice, a person calls them within a day. We test it with our own phones. It works because we are stubborn about the boring parts. Happiness, it turns out, is a cue that moves. People ask me what Elon is to me. I take my time. He is the man who moved one wall when I asked. He is the man who stood at a podium and said the failure was ours. He is the man who brings me a thermos on windy days, and a pencil when I forget my own. He is also the man who knows how to step back so I can step forward without running into him. We are not a fairy tale. We are a practice. It is enough and growing. On a Friday night, months later, the city gathers in a gym that has seen better paint and now better days. Noah graduates. The tassel looks ridiculous and perfect on his cap. He finds me in the crowd after and says he still hates rooms that close in. I tell him roofs are always available. He laughs and does not run. Elon stands by the bleachers and claps like a citizen, not a headline. Agent Ortiz checks her phone and then puts it away because this evening belongs to kids in shoes too big and steps just right. Dana tells me she signed up to volunteer on Sundays. Julia carries folding chairs without tweeting about it. I feel my chest open like a skyline that just remembered it can let people in. Later on the roof, the city hums under our feet. The fence sings. The HVAC exhales like a tired giant. I take my backpack off my shoulder and realize it is lighter not because I carry less, but because more people carry with me. I open my oldest spiral notebook. The one labeled maybe. I cross the word out without drama and write now. The ink is steady. My hand is steady. The wind tries to be a critic and fails. This is what happiness looks like for me. Not a rescue. A room full of small systems that work. A dashboard no one is afraid to show. A boy who sits through the last 3 minutes breathing like a person who knows his ribs are reliable. A billionaire who learns to treat stories as infrastructure. A city that, for once, learned the right setting and kept it there on purpose. I lock the door to the Harper Room. I take the stairs 2 at a time. Monday will come with new errors, new edges, new kids who need a timer and a hand that does not flinch. I am ready. The metronome on my phone ticks once. 5 on. 2 off. Again. We kept the day. Now we keep the habit. The city feels truer when the system stops lying. I wake in my small apartment I earned by contract. Morning light looks like a kept promise. Interval, my stubborn plant, leans toward noon. Coffee. Messages. Tutor swap shifts. Students ask if the hotline answers Sundays. It does. On the roof the fence hums. The mat waits. Noah arrives early with his own timer. He says he hates it and sets it anyway. 5 on. 2 off. Not for speed. For rhythm. He ate breakfast. Panic is quiet. His shoulders sit lower. Progress shows in posture before numbers. After he leaves, I write a policy we forgot. Every pause gets a time limit and an owner. No more month-long pauses with no stopwatch. Boring work. My favorite kind. A gala invite arrives from the Vail Foundation. Black tie. Donor wall. A speech slot. I want to say no. I say yes for the students who will watch on crack screens. I approve my caption. I skip the stylist. I go as myself with a clean sentence. Elon texts. The room will be loud. Step out to the balcony when you need silence. He adds a dot, which means he will be nearby. I wear a simple navy dress with pockets. Sneakers for the walk. Heels at the door. The ballroom smells like lilies and money. I find the tutors. We anchor each other. Noah comes with his aunt, the library card aunt. His suit fits his belief in math. He asks how long speeches take. Less than a panic attack. More than a breath. The program thanks checks and dashboards. Numbers earn love when they show their work. I take the stage. Fairness is not a mood. It is a habit. We built habits. We will keep them. Timers. Breaths. Pause versus stall. Honest nights at the center. I keep it short. I say no names. The applause lands right. A donor asks if I am dating Mr. Fail. He wants a headline. We are allies, I say. Our project is not wasting the next generation's time. I step to the balcony. Night is steel and ink. Shoes off. Elon joins. What did we miss? The Sunday rule, I say. One staff line that belongs to weekends. Done tomorrow. A bench in every hallway. Texting it now. We talk without apology. He holds his watch like a compass. He wants this work in a life with me that is not only work. Clear and careful. No rescue. No virtue receipt. We set a grammar. He will name the feeling before offering a fix. I will accept clean help. He will step back when media shrinks me. I will step forward when I want to disappear. We do not sign it. We remember. At midnight we take the service exit. A food cart. 2 bowls of noodles. The card machine wants cash. I pay from a pocket built for this. He gets chili on his cuff and does not care. I am proud of that stain. He walks me home and keeps a half step back. He asks to call about benches and weekends. He asks to call for no reason. I say yes to both. Inside, interval ignores galas. I write 3 lines. Do not become a symbol you cannot live with. Keep receipts, especially of joy. Teach the rich to wait in line for noodles. Elon texts a dot, then another. I send the metronome. 5 on. 2 off. He replies with his watch and a kitchen timer set to the same minute. 1 word, learning. The next week is not cinematic. It is better. Benches appear. The Sunday line opens and stays open. Tutors get paid on time. The dashboard keeps telling the truth. Students breathe for 3 full minutes before submitting. After a late session, Elon waits in the stairwell. He holds a mechanical pencil and a small sketchbook. Drafts, he says. For both of us. On the roof we breathe with the timer. In for 4. Hold. Out for 6. Twice. The beep. A small step closer. No pose. We choose. Quiet yes. No press. No lilies. Just a roof, a timer, a pencil, a skyline, and two people who learn the right setting. Routine returns. Benches and Sundays hold. We keep receipts. Then the map lands. A PDF at 6:12 a.m. A public hearing. Innovation corridor. For blocks of glass and hope. A hub, a lab, two towers, retail, a plaza. Our street sits on the edge. The Harper Room is Phase 3 optional. Optional means intended later. I send Elon the map. He calls me up. Dana joins. She smells fires early. Ava joins. She speaks like a scalpel. Ava says we can feature the Harper Room as a community benefit. I say put it in a contract. Dana says the partner wants clean parcels. Elon says we build only with a binding CBA. Right to return. No net loss counted indoors. Small business continuity. Zip code scholarships. Rooftop classrooms funded and governed locally. A human line for digital forms. Benches. Sundays. Public dashboards. I add the citywide Sunday rule and hall benches. He agrees. At the center, parents bring printed maps. Fear hums. I listen. I list places you cannot uproot without harm. The bodega with the cat. The laundromat that loans quarters. The diner that saves a table for a nurse's feet. Online, a thread calls us a veil marketing arm. I post RMO. Independent governance. Public metrics. The right to say no. We are a door, not a decal. Then I teach. The hearing is Wednesday at 6. The chamber smells like varnish. Renderings and acronyms fill the air. Neighbors speak. A man carried kids in a couch when the elevator died. A teen talks about her mother's second job. A baker talks about Dawn in debt. A nurse asks to come home to the same block. My turn. I give a list. Right to return with rent caps. No net loss indoors, not percentages. Continuity fund with triggers. Scholarship seats by zip code. Rooftop classrooms in the plan with local boards. A human line for any required form. Benches in halls where panic paces. A Sunday rule for public desks. Public dashboards with truth. Penalties that pay automatically. Fairness is a habit. Put it on paper. A council member asks if I am paid. Yes, I say. By my students' future attention. I turn to Elon. He stands as a citizen. We will not build without a binding CBA that meets these terms and what neighbors add. If partners refuse, we withdraw. The joint venture rep says this is friction. Deadlines. Financing windows. Elon says, people are not friction. Recess. Elon warns the board may move him to a chair with fewer levers. He invites me to the boardroom as a witness. I agree and remind him I speak for myself. That night I redline the draft. I cut adjectives. I swap endeavor to for will. I delete subject to available funding. I add the Sunday rule. I box the Harper Room and write non-demolish. A car idles under my window then leaves. I set the timer. I finish the edits. Make this a habit, not a headline. Morning. Jacket. Shoes that stand. The map in my bag. I take the stairs. I knock. Frosted glass. Quiet art. A table that makes you behave. Elon stands with his watch off. Dana and Ava sit ready. Directors wear calm. The joint venture man has glossy renderings. Elon opens with sentences. We proceed only with a binding CBA. Numbers and names. Right to return. No net loss. Continuity fund. Zip code scholarships. Rooftop classrooms. Human lines. Benches. Sundays. Public dashboards. He nods to me. We use her verbs. The CFO warns about cost and ratings. Dana shows the model. Delays, protests, churn. Honesty is cheaper. Ava promises receipts and real-time dashboards. No halo. Just math. The partner rejects penalties. We cannot hedge teeth. I answer softly. Teeth keep promises from wandering. A director asks if I know fiduciary duty. Yes, I say. Do not burn trust for a quarter's warmth. The chair asks for my edits. I read the list. Doors not percentages. 1 mile radius. Automatic triggers. Local boards. Weekend staffing. Benches. Dashboards. Auto payout penalties. A pilot Sunday rule. The partner scoffs at benches. Benches cost less than lawsuits, I say. Why now? The chair asks Elon. Because the cost of not changing is higher, he says. We will spend it anyway. If the partner walks, the CFO says. Then we walk, Elon says. Or proceed alone at the city's pace. A director asks for personal risk. Yes, Elon says. He commits 1% of his equity to a perpetual habit trust to fund CBA obligations. Independent oversight. No clawbacks. I will witness, I say. If the Harper room is non-demolish as a clause. Ava adds it. Break. Ava says prepare for noise. Elon thanks me for insisting on verbs. I thank him for not trading people for schedule. We vote. Passes by one hand. The partner says lenders will not enjoy this marriage. He gathers his renderings. Adult for goodbye. Next item. Leadership. The board moves Elon to executive chair. He accepts with 2 conditions. Sign the CBA today. Give the chair a veto over any dilution of community obligations. Agreed. Documents arrive. Dana reads. Ava marks. Elon signs. The chair signs. I sign as witness. The clause reads non-demolish. I touch the word. We leave without press. Elon puts his watch back on. Fewer levers. Clearer lines, he says. Live here without fixing people with money, I say. I am learning, he says. Good. I am allergic to rescues. Outside wind is democratic. A food cart waits. He reaches for a card. I pay cash. The soup is too hot and perfect. At the center, parents refresh the city site. The CBA goes live with the public clock. The diner texts a signed continuity plan and asks for a better mop. The laundromat hangs a sign that says we are staying. Students message the hotline about homework. These are happy receipts. Home again. Interval leans to light. Plants trust habits. I write 3 lines. Paper with teeth. Power with proof. Love with grammar. Elon sends a photo of the sign clause. Non-demolish underlined. 1 word kept. I let the quiet count. The city is still a machine and a chorus and a test. Tonight it is also a promise that signed its name.